This video is the second episode in my journey to AFK all bosses. This one is a real cracker. I'm taking a journey I never expected. Since the first episode of Jad, I found myself in a rabbit hole of ideas. If you haven't seen this video, I'd highly recommend giving it a watch. I'll leave a link in the description, which you can click after this video. So, what is this rabbit hole? Well, I've AFK Jad, and now I want to find my next target. I want to see how many bosses in old school RuneScape you can AFK, and how easily. Now, if you're watching this because of the title, bear with me, everything will be revealed shortly on how being AFK led to my opinion the easiest pet in game. Just as a little heads up, if you want to play a game, just take a drink or a shot every time I say AFK, and I guarantee you'll be on the floor at the end of this video. I think even Relica would struggle to keep up, so apologies if there's any repetition, but it is needed to explain what I'm doing. Now, obviously the definition of AFK is pretty broad. Some call it being able to make a 3-course dinner and come back and your character isn't dead, which is pretty unlikely, but there we go. And then others class it grabbing a snack, running downstairs as quickly as possible, and getting back to your chair just in time to make the next action. And then in my case, since I often play on 4 accounts at the same time, is to stop my eyes from turning into mushy peas. A slight note to add here though, that's my definition of a minimum AFK requirement. I'm not saying it has to be that. If it can be more AFK, then fantastic, that's great. So my first step was spend some time scrolling through the wiki and choosing my next victim. I thought the wiki might be placed to come up with some epic idea so game changing that I'd make absolute bank. As I was scrolling, there was one boss that stood out massively, and it was the legendary KBD. Now, I guess it's not really even a boss anymore, since it's probably comparable to a ruined dragon, and yeah, the mighty have really fallen here. But KBD will always have a special place in my heart. Me and my friends back in the day would organise trips and hoping for that legendary visage. I've never had one to this day, and it's absolutely gutting. Although KBD is my second boss in this series, it certainly won't be my last. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to hit subscribe and the bell icon to keep up to date with new videos coming out. A minute ago I just mentioned about making absolute bank, and KBD isn't the best money maker in the world. The GP per hour is pretty meh. But it is the legendary KBD, the first boss ever in game, and also a great place to be testing this new idea. So off I went to try it out, and actually this works a lot better than what I thought. During my testing, I realised if I did a bit of tweaking, you can AFK pretty efficiently. That means at the same time you can watch a film, TV shows, or if you want to, play other accounts. This means the KBD pet is definitely the easiest pet in game for bosses, because you can just do other things at the same time while grinding this out. It may not be the quickest pet, but it's certainly the easiest. I've been averaging about 50 kills per hour, and since the pet drop is 1 in 3,000, that's about 60 hours on average to receive the drop rate for the pet. So if you want to do this as well, let's go through the gear and requirements. For requirements, I recommend 80 plus stats. You can use range or melee. If you are using range, I recommend you having rigor, and for melee, you're definitely going to want piety. On screen now is the setups I recommend. The melee has much lower risk than the range setup, and I wouldn't recommend upgrading too much gear because you will be running through the wilderness and it is dangerous. You will lose items if you die. The melee setup risks about 500k, and with the range setup, you're risking about a mil. For the inventory, we've got a super combat potion, or a ranging potion if you're using range. We've got a super anti-fire potion, got super restores for healing up prayer, and an antidote. You will get poisoned by one of the KBD specials. For the rest of inventory, we've got sharks, and for teleporting, you can either use a burning amulet or a Goric teleport. To make this method even more AFK for melee, you can use a blood fury. When dealing melee damage, the amulet grants a passive 20% chance to heal 30% of the damage you just dealt on that hit. So for example, if I hit a 10, I have a 1 in 5 chance of healing 3 HP. The downside of the blood fury is it can be quite expensive to use. On average, each charge costs 550 GP. There's one important mechanic about KBD, which is why I prefer melee. KBD uses a fire breath special attack. It has a choice of 4, and you cannot negate all the damage from it. The minimum you always get hit is a 10, and there is nothing you can do to avoid this. By using a combination to always get hit the minimum, then you can actually use melee to hopefully proc KBD to use a melee attack, and if you're praying melee, you won't get hit anything. This means over the duration of the kill, you'll take less damage overall. I personally found when using Dragon Hunter Lance and the gear setup I suggested with a Blood Fury, I'm able to AFK for about 2 kills, possibly 3 if I'm lucky, and then come back to my screen. I found on average a kill to be about 40 seconds long, so if you have full prayer and HP, you should be able to AFK for around 2 minutes. I've now done over 500 kills with this method, and it's fantastic. Much better than trying to get as many kills and being as efficient as possible per hour. So there are a couple of extra things to note, one of which is prayer drain. You can bring extra items like Ring of the Gods or Holy Sandals to try and reduce prayer drain as much as possible. Another thing to note is PKers. Now when teleporting up, you could use a scout of your own to check if there's any PKers there, and then you can teleport up safely. The other thing is lures. Be very careful when someone is trying to convince you to leave the KB lair. They might say about using a looting bag to keep all your loot or asking for help. This will be 100% a skull trick. Just ignore them and carry on with what you're doing. A third note is 2 things to make your life easier. One is putting auto retaliate on, and the other is idle notifications on RuneLite. Idle notifications will alert you with a red flashing screen when you drop prayer or have HP below the thresholds you set. This is incredibly useful when you're playing multiple accounts or watching a TV show. And with those 3 notes being said, that ends the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have learned anything, please do subscribe. Leave in the comments any questions below and I will definitely answer them. If you have enjoyed the video, perhaps give it a thumbs up so I know I'm making good content that you guys are enjoying. Thank you very much and good luck on that KBD grind. Bye for now.